Sony have added a brand new camera into their ever popular Sony 6000 series, the A6400. And this time around, it's all about the content creators. And we're gonna have a look at what this camera is all about. So the Sony A6400 is the direct replacement to the Sony A6300, and with that in mind, there really isn't that much difference in terms of ergonomics and physical design. However, there is one major difference, and it is this. The 180 tilt and flip screen, which has complete touch control, which allows you to choose your autofocus as well as shoot. There are a couple issues with the 180 flip screen though. When you have a mic attached to the top, it does cover the screen, so it's not really useful in that sense. And on top of that, the touch screen, although it does allow you to shoot with, you can't really choose anything in the menu as the touch controls do not work for the menu. Secondly, on top of the camera, you do have a brand new 2.36 million dot EVF, which is a lot more responsive and lag-free, which is brilliant. On the left-hand side, you've got your standard ports. You've got a microphone port, a HDMI port, and a USB port. However, there is no headphone port. So if you want to monitor your audio, you've just got to stick to some good old levels or get an external monitor that will allow you to output audio through a HDMI signal. At the bottom of the camera, it still uses the same MP-FW50 battery that is standard in the A6000 series and the previous A7 series. And around the camera, it's basically the same. You've got the same mode dials, same record button, you've got your navigation wheel, and for anyone that is from the A6000 or A6300 looking to upgrade, you'll be pretty familiar with using this camera as soon as you pick it up. So the Sony A6400 houses a 24.2 megapixel sensor in it for you to take some high resolution imagery, and on top of that, it's got a BioNTech image processor, which basically helps the camera take continuous shooting up to 11 frames a second. And in the A6400 now has a bigger buffer compared to the A6300. You can now shoot 99 extra fine JPEGs and 46 RAW files in one burst, which is pretty damn good. In terms of its actual images, like any other Sony A6000 camera or Sony mirrorless camera, the photos look pretty good. From what I can see in the EVF, there's a lot of detail, colors are pretty good. There's only one thing that's kind of bothering me a bit at times, is that when I press my nose up against the screen, it does move the focus point. So I may have to lock that touchscreen feature when I push it up to my face. Otherwise, the camera is pretty damn good. Ready for this? So when you take a selfie, and you put the camera in selfie mode and you take a photo, oh, look at that facial detection. It counts down for you. It knows. It's pretty deep. So one of the coolest things for video about the Sony A6400 that will really benefit a lot of vloggers and basically any videographer is that the screen is actually a 16:9 ratio. So it fills up the whole frame. Now for photographers, you will get a bit of cutting as you will be shooting mostly at a 3:2 ratio. So on the side of the actual screen, there will be black lines, I guess, and the image will be cropped in a bit, which you'll just have to get used to over a while. However, for video users, this is a really good screen and it'll help a lot with your composition and just basically seeing your image a lot clearer. In terms of its actual video capabilities, you can record 4K up to 30 frames per second and Full HD up to a whopping 120 frames per second, allowing you to do slow motion and have a variety of frame rates for you to shoot with. On top of that, the Sony A6400 has one really cool feature that I will find really beneficial for any teacher or a lecturer or basically anyone doing a long-term talk, and that is unlimited recording. So no longer is the camera capped at 29 minutes for video recording, it can now record an unlimited amount. One thing I do note about that though is that it still uses the same MP-FW50 battery, which doesn't last too long. So what I'd advise is if you're going to be doing long-term speaking and going to be leaving the camera on for the whole talk, then I'd recommend getting a direct power supply with a dummy battery so you'll have unlimited power and unlimited recording time. So what we're going to test now is the brand new autofocus system in the A6400. So it now uses a 425 contrast and phase detection autofocus system, but now with real-time autofocus and object tracking. Basically what this means is that the Sony A6400 is not only now better at identifying faces, but now better identifying objects as well. So it basically can map out on multiple planes a object in full 3D, and basically it will help the camera in tracking the object completely throughout the frame. So what we're going to do now, we're going to do a quick jumping segment where I'm going to get Josh to jump up, and I'm going to see if I can nail every single frame with my amazing photography skills. So I've just taken 2 shots, so one of Josh just jumping up and down and one to left and right in frame just to test the tracking. And from what I can tell, it does look like it's in focus, but obviously like any other camera LCD screen, can't really tell if it's completely in focus, but from my confidence of my photography skills as well as the ability of this camera, I think it's in focus. So as you may know in my previous videos, I do not have the most stable hands in the world or ninja walk technique. So the A6400 doesn't actually have 5-axis image stabilization inbuilt. So you're gonna just have to stick to image stabilized lenses, or learn how to keep your hands still, or get a gimbal if you want super smooth video. So we just did a quick ISO test in the Strand Arcade, shooting at ISO 3200, 6400, all the way up to 32,000. And what I can see on the back of the screen, definitely do not go above 16,000. The images do look a bit softer. However, it is pretty usable around 32 and 6400. And considering we don't have the best lens on us right now, just using the standard kit lens, does a pretty good job with handling low light. Today, we're shooting all our samples on a Sony A6400 combined with the kit lens, the Sony 18-135 f3.5 to 5.6. As you would expect, the Sony A6400 has solid image quality. The images have a great amount of contrast and clarity, and it retains details quite well in highlights and shadows. It has a native ISO of 100 to 32,000 and performs quite well at high ISOs. So using the A6400 in multiple lighting conditions is possible. Video quality is great too, with great detail and smoothness. The multiple frame rate options is perfect for any videographer looking to do slow motion or just everyday shooting. The tracking is vastly improved, although not perfect, as it may tend to retrack at times. However, in most scenarios, it does a good job. For vloggers, this issue won't be a problem, as the A6400 is pretty damn good at tracking human faces. However, if you are relying on your screen to get focus, if you chuck your microphone on top of your camera, you won't be able to see your screen. The record button is still placed in that really awkward spot on the right, but like I said earlier, the A6400 has a lot of customizable buttons and will allow you to customize pretty much anything. So what I've done is I've set my record button to now this button at the back, and it's a lot more comfortable to use now. So this is one of the best things about the A6400, is that even if you don't like a button in a certain spot, you can basically modify a lot of the buttons to do whatever the hell you want to do with them. My final thoughts, the Sony A6400 is a great hybrid camera, especially at its price point of under $1,500 Australian. It's packed loaded full of features that will benefit any photographer, videographer, vlogger, or social media content producer. Honestly, the Sony A6400 is one of those cameras that is great for any enthusiast or entry-level person and will be a great bit of kit for the years to come. If you have any questions on the Sony A6400, pop them in the comments below. Make sure to follow us on our Facebook, Instagram, and our blog, which links to those are in our description, to stay up to date with what's going on in store, as well as full written reviews on every product that goes through this channel. And as always, hit the like button and the subscribe button so you don't miss out on our next update as we upload videos weekly.